Hello and welcome. I'm I'm very excited. Today is Sunday. I almost said Saturday. Sunday, the 18th September 2022, and on the what would have been the episode 2 of Milk It to Biscuit. I've got a very special guest and a friend. We're here to chat. It's John Alway, all the way from the US, but he's going to speak more about himself and where he's on today. We met on the same group of people in the same community, the 10x community, GC. I'm promoting GC right now. And I asked him, hey, do you want to have this chat and, talk about things? And he said, well, yeah, why not? I'm scared, but let's do it. And so here we are on this Sunday morning for you. Me is afternoon. And we're just here to speak about, well, let's see how it rolls, right? But
That's right.
so, John.
Hello. Hey, it's my first podcast. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I'll just keep on going. Grant says to commit first and figure out the rest later. So that's what we do. We just say, yes, I'd love to be on a podcast. And so we figure out the rest later. So this is a new experience for me, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I mean, off the record here, we spent about half an hour trying to connect the different audio. We're finally like, okay, we're just going to keep it as it is. And,
Yeah, that's all part of the fun, trying to figure out new problems.
Exactly.
We want to have new problems, not the same old problems, new problems.
Precisely, new problems. So tell me a few things about you, John. Um, so what I know is that you have moved quite a lot. You have changed quite a lot of locations in your life. Where you want to say a few things about, where did you grow up and a little bit of your story.
Sure. Like Ken Zelazny from the Grant Cardone licensee group says, I'm a recovering engineer. I'm still trying to figure out my social skills after 30 years in the business. So anyhow, along the way, I've had a nice career for over 30 years. And on the side, I've always had some kind of interest to make money on the side. I've realized a long time ago that nobody's going to get rich by just making a salary, no matter how much salary you get. Really, it's going to come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I've explored a lot of things over the years. Most recently, I've gotten involved with Grant Cardone licensee project, and also a company called Entra, which I'd love to tell you more about.
Oh yeah.
But I started off in California, so I'm a California boy, born in August. I love the heat; it's great, and I lived there for 18 years. And then I went away to school in St. Louis, yeah, very competitive school.
Did you say you're an August baby as well?
August, yeah, August 5th. How
Hang
about
on,
you?
what? You're an August 5th.
I'm on August 5th. Yeah.
How did we know this before? I'm an August 5th baby too.
You're an August 5th baby also? Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Look at that. Didn't know that. Check that out.
This has happened to me before. I worked next to a guy for 3 years before I figured out we had the same birthday.
No way. Okay, was it morning or what time do you know?
Oh, I got cheated. 8 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, so I only get 1 hour of birthday here on the East Coast and 4 hours on the on the
Did you
West
say
Coast.
8 p.m.?
8 p.m. Yeah.
Okay,
So
I was born around 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Okay, so we'll
Look at
celebrate
that.
your birthday in the morning and mine in the afternoon. Okay, that's great.
Oh
Oh,
no.
that's wonderful. Okay. Yeah, so I was I wonder why I even brought that up because I usually don't.
I
But
mean,
anyway, yeah,
maybe
so I
for
went away
this
to
reason.
school and
To find out
and
another August baby.
yeah, I'm from a train town and in California, a very small town. The train runs right through the middle of it. And so we know about engineers and brakemen. And so when I went away to school, I checked the box for engineering because I thought, well, that'd be nice, drive trains the whole time. That'd be okay. But it was chemical engineering. So, okay, fine. I'll drive chemical trains. That'll be fine. But no, that's just a little joke. I signed up for chemical engineering. I was really challenged by the caliber of the students that were surrounding me. I was in way over my head, but I ended up graduating with 2 degrees in 4 years. So
Wow.
chemical engineering, which don't ask me about my GPA, it was pretty low, and Spanish, which brought my GPA up, all my Spanish literature classes. So those two
Nice.
degrees have served me well in manufacturing for over 30 years. And but on the side, I've always been trying to figure out how to help people solve problems. I'm a
Hmm.
problem solver. That's the engineering part.
Sure.
And there's a lot of small businesses that are just struggling out there. And so anything I can do
Yeah.
to learn how to help them be successful, to support their family, that's my mission in life now.
Wow. Can I ask something?
Sure.
Just because you kind of, that question came to my head when you said that. Because I grew up in a small town as well, and it was quite or relatively easy for an owner to just, open a shop or have his own cafe or his own boutique or whatnot, and to run it like the years that I was a kid. Whereas now I think it would be so much more different, wouldn't it? Is it the same thing where you grew up?
Yeah, it is. There was my town has changed a lot since I grew up. There was 20,000 people in there when I left to go to school, and now there's over 100,000
Oh,
people, and
wow.
the big businesses are there, the big shopping malls and such, and so it's a little bit different environment.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it's a challenge, and I think I really appreciate the courage that small business owners have. They say, okay, if it's to be, it's up to me, and that kind of thing, and
Mhm.
they really stake their family's future on it and really put a lot of time into it. And so that's anything I can do to help to keep them successful. That's what motivates me. My father-in-law had his own business, a civil engineer, and always had his own business for years. And
What was the
his
business about?
he's since retired and passed away, but the business goes on because one of his sons, Tony, is also runs runs that sort of business development.
What
Um,
is the business at?
it was civil engineering, which is like land
Oh,
development and that kind of thing. But Tony has
okay.
taken it in a different direction with regard to real estate and real estate investment. So
Wow.
yeah,
Completely. Is he
yeah.
running it by himself, or does he have help?
He has a small team, and that's really, I'm glad you brought that up, because really the myth of the solopreneur, we can't go very far by ourselves. We really need people, whether it's a network, supporters,
Yeah.
masterminds, teams. Really, we have to surround ourselves with like-minded people who are going to pull us up, because just by ourselves, we're going to get beat down and not get to the finish line.
Hmm. Even if I think even if you just are your own, I don't know, if you're a coach, for example, you're the one who's going to coach people, but even then you can't do it alone because you need to coach to be coached, or to
Right,
learn how to reach out to more people, or to learn how to manage your finances, or increase your revenue, or increase your clientele. And I believe that also comes down to not doing it alone. Things
right,
that we are usually, this is exactly what we are brought up to think like. I mean, at least I
right,
did, right? And I
right.
think the majority
Hmm.
of the people out there were the same. No, I'm going to do it on my own. No, I need to, stand on my own feet and like do things by myself and learn how to be independent.
Sure,
In
sure.
reality, I think this is what the average person does, and that's why they have
Right,
results, right? Whereas you see the big names, they find and support, and by support we don't always mean people working for them, but means also, having a lawyer to advise you, or having a financial advisor to advise you. That's also your team, isn't it? So
right.
people
Yeah,
don't work for you directly in your company.
yeah. So even the most famous basketball player, Michael Jordan, he also had a coach, Phil Jackson. And so it makes sense. I have three coaches. I've got a personal development coach, I've got a sales coach, and I have a marketing coach, because those are
Wow.
three areas that I want to do well in.
Mhm.
And so I have coaches. So even coaches have coaches. So
Yeah,
that helps me, because that way, when there's a problem, I can go back to my coaches and say, well, what do you think about this situation? What do you think about this situation?
yeah.
So we're not out there doing it by ourselves. And they laugh and they say, yeah, I remember I was in that situation. I tried this and I tried that. And so we can talk about it. So, but it's a very humbling exercise as well. The ego wants to do it all by itself.
Mm.
I am super ego. And but really it's a network of people. Um, It's really the people who are around us and behind us and supporting us.
And this is so important, isn't it? Like, I'm sure you can share the same value here and the same idea, but our
Right.
environment is so important, isn't it?
It
It's
is.
if we let go completely and we stop fighting, and by that I'm thinking about myself, and we completely surrender to our environment, we don't really go anywhere. At least for me, like
Right.
we're gonna have whatever everybody around us have that we spend most of our days with. That's why you see me at work, for example, because I still have a day job, and I had my headphones on about 50% of the times because I'm trying to listen to something else while I'm working. I end up doing mistakes sometimes because of that reason, because I'm listening and I'm not doing my job very well. Which, if somebody from my work listens to that right now, they might not be very happy. But I realize that I cannot get sucked into listening to what people are saying all the time, or complaining about people, or because I find myself doing that after a while, and I don't really like it. It doesn't
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. The gravitational pull towards mediocre or towards the average is incredibly strong. It takes a lot to pull away from that. And it's very enticing to
Hmm.
the communications, the at work, those type of things. And sometimes I put on headphones, I don't have anything on. I'm I I just it's sort of a signal to them that I'm focusing on something else.
Yep.
If I
That's
got
the
up and
late.
start walking around with my wired headphones unplugged, they might think I'm kind of strange. What's wrong with that guy? Those aren't the remote control. They're like these. They have the wire in them.
Yeah, and imagine if the wire is just sticking out, you haven't even connected it to anything, it just sticks out like I think I've
That's,
seen somebody who was doing it, maybe on a TV show or something,
yeah,
pretending to be
that would be a great
something else.
Dilbert
But
one. Yeah, that'd be great. That's the guy who did the comic strips all about Cubiclonia and whatever I'm sure I could find one in there. But yeah, headphones and at work, you see a lot of people doing that. Is it music? Is it a podcast? Is it
Mhm.
Clubhouse? What are they listening to?
Speaking of Clubhouse, I'm gonna mention this. My gosh, I don't get so I'm not live as much as I would like to, but I did went live by accident last Thursday, not 2 days ago, the one before, so 9 days ago. And on Thursday afternoon for me, so it was AM for you guys in the East Coast, because now you're not in California. So and it was GC with a few other folks speaking on one of the channels in one of the rooms, and he was saying at the time, "Oh, we're going to South of France, guys. If you know anybody who is in South of France, message me. Let's get connected. I'm here to meet people." And I was like, "What the heck? I'm gonna drop him a message, right?" And I was checking for the next couple of days, and no messages were there. I didn't log in until literally before we started talking an hour ago, and I see a response from GC of his location. This is literally the first time he texted me, because we have spoken on a live training one time. Um, but it was like a week ago when he texted me this.
Oh,
So I did ask on my social media, does anybody live in the south of France? But hey, let's see.
yeah.
Yeah, I felt a bit star star
Starstruck?
star,
Yeah,
star.
sure. Oh yeah,
um
sure.
yeah, but yeah, that's the one.
That happens to me too. I'm in awe of some of these people who've had so much success, a CEO of a
Mm,
big company
yeah.
or somebody who's had a lot of success. I just kind of found myself sort of tongue-tied around them. Not, I don't know if it's because I don't want to open my mouth and take away all, guesswork as far as how intelligent I am, or,
Mm,
just whatever it is, I get myself tied up with that. I learned something from my father about the best thing to say to somebody. So say you're in an airport and
mhm,
you see Michael Jordan's over there. We just mentioned that name a few minutes ago, Michael
yeah.
Jordan. And so if my dad ever got a chance to meet him or to say hi to him or whatever, he would say, "Thank you,
Wow.
Michael Jordan. Thank you for all the hours of enjoyment and inspiration you've given me and my family over the years."
Oh, wow.
And wow, that is the perfect thing to say to these guys, right?
Wow.
Because really it's true. They have given
Yes.
hours and hours and dedicated their lives to it. And
Yes.
he just says thank you to them. And I was like, wow, Dad, that's the perfect thing to say.
Wow.
My dad was a very humble man. And he would just
Wow. But
They would just do that.
isn't it funny
Yep.
that sometimes you listen, like as an adult, you listen back to lines and codes that your parents have told you over the years, and you might have missed some of them so much, or you never paid attention. And 10, 15 years later, you're like, oh, that actually was very smart.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And to see the reaction of people when he says it, they're just not expecting it. They're saying, oh, will you sign this autograph? Or, it's all about them. But when he turns it back on the individual, it's amazing to watch how they react to that. They really appreciate it.
So tell me, John, what made you want to make this change now between, after you said you've had 30 years experience working as an engineer. So what made you want to make the change and like take the leap and, leap of faith and try something different?
I think you're asking me what is my why? Why am I getting involved in this and that kind of, and I would
Yeah,
love to
sort of.
go down that path for a minute because it's really important that I keep track of this on a daily basis. So, and I want to make sure that my why, meaning the question why, is very clear. So why am I doing this? I want time and money freedom. I'm getting to the age where I'm starting to have grandchildren, and I want to go visit them, and I want to go spend time with them, and that type of thing. I want to pay back all the debts, all the debts that have accumulated over my life, and to make sure that I've paid back those debts, and also have some financial security in terms of 6 months of expenses and that type of thing. I'd also like to go on exotic vacations and trips with my family and things like that. And the reason behind that is not only to spend time and lavish attention on my family, but also that will get them asking, God, Dad, how have you been so successful? How can I learn how to do this? Because until you get to that point, I don't think they're going to listen very much. They'll be like, oh yeah, Dad's doing something on the internet, or Dad's doing some
Yeah. Yep.
coaching or something, and it won't really make sense to them until they can actually see the success of it. Going in the other direction on the why small businesses? Why do I want to be a sales and marketing coach? It seems a little bit of an offset, but go ahead.
Before you answer that, just because we don't know that anybody who will listen to this, they might not know what is the why. What's the why thing? So some people might not know what that is. So how would you define what you just said, the why? Because I asked what's the reason that motivated you.
Right.
You answered by the why, which I understand, but in your own words, how would you describe to somebody, find your why, i.e. the reason to motivate you to do something?
Right. So it's very motivating to know why you're doing something. And a concept in quality or investigations is to keep asking why over and over again. And you almost have to ask permission from the other person if you're having this discussion, because it can be a little bit aggravating. They give you an answer and you say, well, why? And then they give you another answer and why. And you might run into things that they don't want to talk about, or get into boundaries where it's personal or it's emotional. And that's okay. And that's why, as long as you have that permission ahead of time, so they know that they're going into this, then maybe they'll eagerly open those doors and go into those rooms where normally they wouldn't go by themselves. And that's where the interesting thing is, as far as getting to the why and the meaningful part of it, the emotion part of it. And that will motivate us, because a lot of times, it's not easy to change patterns and change behaviors. And so we need to have that hand on that why a lot, because the gravitational pull towards mediocre and average is so strong that you really need to keep track of that. And so just knowing my own personal why wasn't enough. It wasn't motivating enough to get me to do things. So my coach said, well, let's look at the other side of the why. What do you mean the other side of the why? Well, why are you doing this? Why small businesses? Oh, wow, thanks for asking. And so I go into a lot about, how many small businesses fail, and it's devastating, and, go on and on and on. And he brought it full circle. He said, okay, so success is your duty. You need to, because every time you don't post, every time you don't walk through a door to find the owner to see how you can help them, every time you don't pick up the phone and try to make that next phone call, you're failing to help somebody, because the stuff that you have, the information you have, is gold. I mean, it really is useful to these companies. That will really help them. and it's almost like you're failing them, or somehow you're keeping success from happening as soon as it could happen to them,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe you don't want to make that phone call. It doesn't feel good to get hung up on. It doesn't, it doesn't feel good to say hear no, or to be rejected. You can really start licking your wounds after a while in these sales areas, but it's success is my duty. So I need to find that next person who
Mm-hmm.
wants to grow their business and wants to listen to how they can do it. So that's really the much more motivating part of the why for me, in terms of how I can serve other people, or who's not getting served because of my reluctance.
So, my question is, but why small businesses out of everything else?
Oh, I don't
Do you have
know.
any personal something personally? Did somebody, I don't know, in your life that you loved and their business failed or something, or maybe your business failed and that's why you want to help other businesses? So what is that?
I don't, well, I've always worked for large businesses. My engineering career has been with manufacturing and big factories and
Sure.
hundreds and thousands of employees.
Wow.
And so I don't know if I solve a business for that if I solve a problem for that one business, okay, a certain set of people got affected by it. It doesn't have that same return, but out there in small
Mm-hmm.
business, when there's so many of the people um, that could use this help. So that's really why I'm focusing on small
Mm-hmm.
business and that type of thing.
So how about yourself? Have you ever started your own business?
I have.
Oh,
I've had a consulting business, and I've had a franchise business.
oh wow.
So the consulting business failed right away. And that's what, we want to have quick failures in life.
Sure.
You try something, it fails. Okay, fine. Everything, you wring out all the lessons from it and move on.
Sure.
The welcome mat business, that was my franchise business.
Mm-hmm.
It worked with small businesses, and that was the first real interaction I had with the small
Mm-hmm.
business owners. And it would invite in the people who just moved in the neighborhood to the local businesses that signed up with me.
Okay.
And then, when you just moved into a new neighborhood, you don't know where to go. You don't know
Yeah.
who has the best pizza. You don't know who has the best Greek food. You don't know anything. So all of a sudden in the mail comes this invitation, come on in for a free euro, come on in for a free pizza. You go in and you try it, and hey, this is pretty good. Well, you just got a new customer.
All
That
right.
that place, they just had found their favorite place, because when they needed it, somebody was there with something for free. And so it really establishes that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the business, Welcome Mat Services. But it really
Wow.
relied on being able to find those business owners where they're working. They're not on LinkedIn and they're not on Facebook. They're working in their business. And so you have to go through the door and find them and tell them all about the opportunity. And then you have to close the deal. You have to, in your sales presentation, you have to be able to close
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
them to decide and help to convince them to take a chance on this. And that's where I had my biggest struggle. I could go through the door, I could get the meeting, I loved the presentation, come to the end, I could not close. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it was, but I had hundreds of presentations and not very many closes, not enough to keep the doors
Mm.
open. So when COVID came by,
Yeah.
I'd already started to go back to W-2 type jobs to just get enough money to pay for basic essentials.
Mm-hmm.
And when COVID came along, all the business owners stopped advertising. They
Of
just
course. Because you're
conserved as much money as they could, because they didn't have the doors open.
because you're talking most of your clients were food restaurants.
Correct. Yeah.
So during
Yeah.
lockdown, of course
Yeah. They
that
got
affected you.
closed. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's why I have a lot of heart for the small business owners, because it's usually sometimes just one person. It's their
Mm.
family that's involved, but they don't get to spend much time with their family because their business isn't operating at a high enough rate
Mm.
where they can enjoy the benefits of business ownership.
Yes.
So that's my goal. That's what I want to work with, those guys, and as many as I can to get them to learn either sales, how to close. Like I would need to learn how to close,
Mm.
or the marketing techniques as well, digital marketing, whether whether
Mm-hmm.
it's SEO or pay per click, or just how to communicate with your local, increase the awareness of people in your local neighborhood through
Sure.
Facebook groups and things like that.
So when you said before about that you are struggling with closing, and that means, for those who might not know sales, for instance, I wouldn't know what that is 2 years ago.
Oh, good. Okay.
So that means basically when you are closing a deal, right? When you are signing a new customer, a new client. As a lot of people have said, including GC, of course, that any objection you are facing is an objection you see yourself. So if, for example, if all I see is people who find my products expensive, that's because maybe I think my products are expensive, for example. So because, and this is a lot of people who have said the same thing in different wording, that we as creatures, we are creatures that we seek every day in our lives. We seek out to find the things that confirm our beliefs. This is where I'm going to take it a little bit further out for those who think that law of attraction is all of like fairy tale stuff. That's what law of attraction is. You isolate the cases, the incidents, the elements in your life. You're looking around, and all you see is the things that confirm what you're thinking and what you believe. So, for example, that's the classic example. I bought a red car and all I see is my red car out there. It's not that because suddenly a lot of red cars showed up. It's just because now I have this red car. All I'm thinking about is my new red car. So I see the red car everywhere. I'm not seeing all the other cars. So it's the same kind of thing. When I started thinking how to, and I want to ask if you have faced the same thing. When I started like thinking about money and trading and making multiple flows of income and thinking about how to do personal development and changing yourself and sales and marketing and whatever aspect of a business owner, investor, whatnot, I started meeting more people like that. I started meeting more traders, it's just, did this suddenly appear from somewhere, or I was started asking similar questions because these are the things that I'm interested in right now. So
You're right on track. Yep.
So that's
You're
what
right on track with that.
attraction means.
Right. Yeah. As you write down your goals each day, and you program your mind to look for these opportunities, and it will start showing you all the red cars on the road, where average, you might think that there's just as much chance of a red car, or orange car, or yellow car, blue car. But because your mind's tuned in to bring those to you. I had the same thing happen. Subaru is sort of a certain brand of car, and I wanted to buy a Subaru, and so I bought one. And now, as far as I know, there's every other car on the road is a Subaru. It's happening just like you said, And before that, I would have said every other car on the road is a Toyota, but I bought a Subaru, and now every car on the road is a Subaru. Wow. So it's amazing how that happens. But if that can happen with a car or a color of a car, it can happen in other areas as well. So if you're thinking about how to, our subconscious mind is so strong, it takes care of 90% of what's going on. And if you present it problems, you give it, I want to earn, 100,000 per month, and then let's set that problem out there and let my subconscious mind get to work on it. And it's going to present different ideas. It's going to say, well, a real estate license is only $400. Why don't you get that? Or you could become a sales coach, or you could become this, or you could do this, or you could do this. You could invest in this market, or you could trade in this market. Solutions will start to show up, just like red cars and Subarus.
Yeah. And as Robert Kiyosaki is saying, how can I find $100,000 or 100,000 whatever pounds? Yes. It's not like or thinking, well, because what we usually do is what we want this money, and we start thinking, God knows I do that, and I'm like, I need to change it. You start thinking about how much money you have right now. So instead of start thinking the money you want, you're thinking about what you have right now. So if you're thinking what you have right now, which is of course a very limited number to the one you're actually aspiring to have, then you're thinking in terms of limitation. You're limiting yourself to this number you're having right now. So why would I ever expect to have this figure I'm aspiring to earn when I'm only focusing practically and spend my energy and my thoughts on the amounts I have right now in my bank account, on my investments, or on whatever. So it's what we do, but it's not helping. But I don't think the Grant Cardones and the Kiyosakis and I don't know, the LeBron Jameses think like that, right? They just think, how can I win the next game? How can I earn the extra 100K? They're not focusing
Yeah,
on the one they have already.
right, right. Yeah, they're focusing on the win. They're focusing on being successful
Yeah.
and that type of thing, and being blessed by God and being successful and all that. They're not, and that really is helps our mind focus on that so that we can see those
Mm.
colors and colors
When
and
did you start?
solutions.
Sorry. When did you start your journey? This change into changing career paths, and when did that start for you?
I've always, let's see, all the way back to phone cards. Goes back a way when people were using phone cards to dial in this is probably before smartphones, before probably back when flip phones. Anyway, you needed to dial a long distance number, and so you used a phone card. And so I started even getting interested in phone cards. That didn't go anywhere, but it was just an example for me. My first real estate license I got in 2004. So this goes back quite a ways in terms of having the side job or the extra thing to do, because I knew that salary would not make me wealthy. It would just pays
Yeah,
the bills. The bills will grow to the level of your salary.
of
And
course.
if you're making a lot of money, then you have a lot of bills. If you're making a little money, then you don't, hopefully you don't have a lot of bills. But
Hopefully.
that's not the truth. But yeah, so that was, I've had that side job idea for a long time.
Mhm.
And so it grows and not, but it's all starting to come together now with the marketing and sales coaching and the real estate license that I'll start classes next week.
Oh,
I
nice.
had yeah, I have to replace my Ohio license because it's not functioning anymore. So
Where are you
I'll
based
get
now?
a
You didn't
Connecticut.
mention it before.
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut.
Okay.
So in between New York and Boston, there's a state
Mhm.
called Connecticut.
Yep.
And the nice thing is Connecticut has reciprocity with Ohio, so I can still work with my brother-in-law in Ohio. So
Nice.
that'll be great.
So when you started thinking differently and wanted to step out of your 9 to 5, did you share that with your family and friends?
Not so much.
Why?
um, because I'm not looking for advice from them.
At the time, not now. At the time.
Yeah, even at the time, I wasn't
Oh,
looking
you
for
weren't.
advice for
Okay.
them. No, I've over the years, it's been, well, go talk to your uncle or go talk to your dad or go talk to your grandpa whenever something like that would come up. And even if they did or did not have the experience in the thing that I was looking for, it was more of a measure of respect or more of a, of course you should go ask your dad. He knows everything. And you get into, you're talking about a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And my dad was poor dad in that example.
Mhm.
And it's not a very good conversation to have with a guy who's at the
Oh,
end of his career. He can't really make any changes.
sure.
So, but my dad was financially successful, but he went at it so sort of as a state employee way, like the example in the book by Robert Kiyosaki.
I mean,
Um,
somebody can be an employee and earn a lot of money, right?
correct.
It's not the rule, but it can happen.
Right. And Grant's got a new program that helps people to figure out how to do that. He says that don't turn off your first stream of income.
Oh, of
Just
course. At the moment.
maximize your first
Yeah.
stream, which is
Yeah.
usually employment,
And
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 then try to figure out something
yeah.
else.
But and yeah, and if you don't have, if you cannot, firstly, you need to think through your job. Do I have any more earning possibilities through my job, or should I find something else outside? And I'm saying that for two things. One is because there's a lot of things out there, a lot of businesses or home businesses or whatnot that people can start. And it works, but like everything, it works if you put a lot of time and effort in it. There's no such thing as something for nothing. This does not exist. And a lot of people think that, or they're too afraid to take a step, which is fine, but don't expect anything to change. And I'm saying that for myself too here at the same time.
Right. Sometimes we do.
Yeah, I mean, most of it, like this is why we're doing it anyway. But so the same thing, it's not just Grant who's saying this. So I don't know if you've heard or read or listened to a book called The Compound Effect. So if you, okay, so the same thing is mentioned there as well, that the author was also saying the same thing, that one of his employees was earning 40K a year, and she could barely make ends meet. But then she started thinking, she started having more earning possibilities through she had her 40 grand a year job, but through different ways of, for example, what was the example? She figured out a way to save money for the company, and she asked for, I think it was a 10% of what the company would save, she would get the money or something like that. So she started this saving money program for the company that she was already working for, and she started earning more money. And then later on, she bought the real estate, and she started earning, she had multiple streams of income, right? And she started as a person who was, I think she was an assistant, and she was earning 40K a year. So it's doing, but she did the work, right? She did the work.
Right.
The majority of people do not do the work. That's the thing.
Yeah, so that's a great example, and I think Grant takes it even further in that, look at what can you do for your company's social media presence? What can you do for your company's marketing? What can you do for your company in terms of sales, increasing business, increasing customers, and then try to get a piece of that new business. And that really is a great way to grow, and a great way to, any company that rewards its employees for saving money or bringing in new customers is a smart company, because that's going to inspire your employees, who know the most about your company, to really put their heads together and try to figure out how they can do it faster or cheaper, or bring in new customers.
Yeah, and same things. People, I was listening to similar things that Simon Simek, forget his first name. I'm so sorry. I think Simek is his last name. I'm sure if you YouTube him, you'll find a lot of things he said. He was saying something similar. He was studying organizations and companies, and the difference between how an organization will treat you if they show you respect, and he gave that you will give the equal respect towards others and towards the clients of your organization, and so on and so on. That will bring more revenue forward, and everybody's happier. It's best if you listen to his own speeches than mine. Very bad as a repetition. But another thing that I wanted to ask, when you said before about multiple streams of income, that's so important, is that I know people who, like I said before, or cases of people who had a job, started doing very well at a second source of income, and dropped out the first one, and the second one at some point stopped working out, stopped making as much money, and then they didn't have the first one to fall back onto. So that's another, and I'm sorry to say that, poor people's mindset. You add flows. Drop out the first one when you have at least a second one, or when your second one is double, or something like that, right? You don't replace one, you add more.
Correct.
And it's sad. Like, I mean, I've always said that about myself. I'd rather earn less money, but from different sources, than earn more money from one source.
Right.
Because even if because if you have a lot of source of income, and you earn, let's say, 10K from a very executive job in a company, but then you earn 5K from 1K from different incomes. I don't know, you've got a property, you've got a job, I don't know, you have dividends in some stocks, whatever it is. If one of them stops, you have the other 4 to go into, so the other 4 grand. But then if the boss sacks you that you earn the 10K from, that's it, you have 0. So make an investment. Like, we need to calculate things, we need to break things down, we need to schedule and plan our lives. And I realized I've never done it in my life, and I'm trying to do it now in my early 30s, and it's tough if you've never done it, to start planning and thinking that way. Yeah,
especially when you're in your 50s.
I think it's difficult in any way, but yes, to be honest, the older you are, the more difficult it is, but it's not impossible.
That's right. Today's the right day to get started. And so that's what a big part of it is. And I really agree with what you were just saying.
Do you want to say, do you want to share 5 things that you have found that are very useful, or that helped you, or things you would like people to have known earlier in their lives, for example?
Oh yeah. Oh boy. Just five, huh?
Just
Yeah,
five.
I would like to go back to a younger version of myself, right? And teach them to pay attention to things like family and
Mm,
your physical and your personal relationships and your
mm,
professional things, and start, just like you said, Galiki, is start when you're in your 30s, start when you're in your 20s, start when you're in your teens, and start doing all these things that are now so easily available.
mm.
When I was younger, it was cassette tapes, and you had to
Yeah.
listen to not Dick Tracy, Brian Tracy on cassette tapes, and listen to him talk about things, or Dale Carnegie, or it was, um, hard to apply some of that stuff to a non-sales position.
Sure.
But as I'm talking to my daughter, she's 21, just graduating from college, and so I'm trying to share this stuff with her, but she doesn't have enough experience to value this training. Doesn't have enough. We're weird as human beings. We want to do it all ourselves. We want to come out of the gate, come out of your college degree and just go, go, go. And we don't really listen for advice. I told you earlier, I did not listen to my
Mm.
mentors growing up either, because they hadn't done the things that I wanted to do.
So listen more. What else?
If And then the other thing is to spend time together, going through these things. As a lot of times we set ourselves off to the side and we try to do it ourselves. And really, if we just spent more time together and try to figure it out even as a family and that type of thing, have it be more of us against the world instead of just the
Hmm.
one parent or both parents.
So share your goals with your family and share
Oh
your
yeah,
aspirations.
they should be like right on board and helping out and those types of things,
Mm,
and
mm,
trying to figure it out. Because if you can see this with Grant and his kids, um, they track right along with the stuff that he's training in business and things like that. When they get up on stage and present
mm.
for a few minutes, you can tell that, yep, they've been getting some coaching at home. They're pretty good.
And yeah, I think you can see that with every. I mean, this quote that I think it exists in every language in this world, that behind a successful man there is a very strong woman, or something
Sure,
like
for
that.
sure. Yep.
It just, and in reality, even if that quote is not exactly feministic, like it's not very, however, it is very true,
Oh
because
yeah.
it means that, because to me all it means is that there's a unit, there's a team that
Hmm.
goes somewhere together and they support each other towards the greater goal.
Right.
So if the man happens to be the leader of that goal, or the head of that goal, perfect. It could be the woman, because especially these days this happens more and more.
Yeah.
Then it's the man supporting the woman, but
Right.
they are going somewhere together and they have figured out
Correct.
what that is. They don't compete, I guess.
Yeah.
They don't say, no, you have to spend more time with me and you're working too much or whatnot. Those couples are the ones that are actually successful, as or the in their businesses. Those people who are the successful ones. That's what I've noticed.
Correct. I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, it really helps to have a spouse, and a supportive spouse, and whether that's the man supporting the woman's aspirations to have a big career, or the opposite,
And both,
or them
most
both to be
importantly,
dedicated
both.
to figuring out how to make things work with maybe not such big careers, but maybe
Mm,
by managing their expenses, or by
mm,
managing their investments, or something else, some other strategy.
mm,
You have to work together and have common goals. And I know this from the failure side of it as well,
mm.
in terms of you have to have good communication.
Sure, of
Um,
course.
and so there's a guy who, Dave Ramsey here in the U.S., who talks about how to get out of debt and those type of things. And it's a lot of it's figuring out how the couples work together. Usually one's a saver and
Sure.
one's a spender in almost every couple. And but also you see this in the people who are famous as well. They're married to somebody. Grant's married. His business partner Brandon Dawson's married. Could go down all the way down the line of the people who are around him. They all have that marriage
I
and
mean, not
family and that
everybody,
type of
but
thing.
or
So
they didn't always have it.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. So it's important to have that to be open to that type of thing and not think, oh, I've got to dedicate the next 10 years of my life to 80-hour work weeks. Yeah, maybe, but that doesn't mean you need to be alone.
Yes,
You could have a supporting partner
yes.
and that type of thing
That
so
also
that you
comes
work
down
together
to
on it.
that also comes down to not doing things by yourself, not doing things alone. It could also mean that you have a partner in life and
Correct.
do
That
things
would be
together.
very key. Yeah, with common goals, so
Exactly.
that when someone has to work late, the other one is supportive. When somebody's got to work on a Saturday or travel, they're supportive. They try to figure out a way to do it together.
So tell me again, so how many things did you mention so far out of five? So you said listen and
Yeah,
pay attention.
yeah.
What
And
else?
we said spend time with family.
Yep, spend time with family. Sure.
Yeah, and keep your religion. That religion that you were raised with, that your parents tried to bring you up in. Hopefully, they brought you up in some kind of a church or some kind of a religious
Mm-hmm.
value system. Maintain that. That's an important part of your upbringing. That's an important part of your wiring and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And that's a very important. That should be part of the three as well, or part of the five. Part of the
Sure.
five as well. And then the other was, I think you need to read books. You need to,
Mm-hmm.
Grant talks about the CEOs in America read over 50 books a year. So that's one a week. And I'm a big fan of audiobooks. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to know, I can help you get them from the
Good.
library for free. So
Me
it
too.
doesn't cost anything. So yeah, I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah,
And
likewise.
then the other part is to just deal with your limiting beliefs. So
Mm-hmm.
these are ideas like you talked about, how confirming it can be that the right way to solve a problem is something, or our mind shows us things that are similar and confirming to what we're currently doing. If I believe that the earth is round, everything I see confirms it. And if I believe that the earth is flat, everything I see confirms it.
Sure.
So be careful of those limiting beliefs, because how you think about money, how you think about success, your confidence, all those things, your worthiness, that you're enough,
Mm-hmm.
all those things affect us. And a lot of times they limit us or put boundaries on our potential future, our potential success.
Yes. And I think that's because we are acting based on those things we believe about ourselves. Because if we believed we were, I don't know, because I'm an actor, right? So let's
Mhm.
say I don't believe I'm pretty enough to go for a role, right? So then I wouldn't go for it because I don't think I'm pretty enough. Or I would go for it, but half-hearted because thinking that I'm just going to fail. So my
Right.
heart is not in it. So that's my understanding of limiting belief is when you're acting on something based on a belief you have about yourself, which is not serving you.
Right.
And it's easier said than done, of course. And it takes work because we all have those beliefs. And that doesn't mean that those beliefs will disappear. You're just
No.
educating yourself not to listen to them. And
Yeah.
so when they pop into your head, you're like, no, 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 no. I know what that is. Let me
Yeah.
take.
Yeah. Oh, there's that cloud over there again. Yeah, he
Like,
blows in
oh,
every once in a while. Not him
no,
again.
hello. No.
Yeah, exactly. So and how to deal with limiting beliefs. Gosh, I wish I would have known that a lot earlier in my career. It would have really helped.
That makes two of us. That makes two of us.
They don't teach this stuff, but again, like I said
No,
before, we probably wouldn't have listened anyway.
no. And it's probably, but it depends. It depends on our circumstances, I think, and on our background. My background and my surrounding was so much different than the one I have right now. And there is no one, to my knowledge, that would be talking or listening to anything that we're talking about right now. So it's so different that I like you. This is why bringing it to your friends and family, it's so important, because when you're making a change, any kind of change into the way you're thinking, or you're moving differently, or you're making changes, the people that know you already, they know you based on certain standards and based on certain elements around your life and the way you operate and what you do. When you start changing that, you are changing. The others have already an image of you the way you are already. When you're changing that image, that doesn't necessarily go well with them because they don't know how to place themselves around your new version of yourself. And that is basically your fault, right? That's your responsibility because that you decided to change. So you can't expect people to necessarily follow you around or agree with you or keep being your friends or keep talking about the same thing, but you made that change. So you have to be okay. And I'm saying that for myself, that I had to make myself be okay with not being around the same people anymore, and be okay with having less fewer friends or needed to change friends, or think like all this change that is happening, all the balances that are changing because I made different changes, and I have to make myself be okay with it. And I'm still working on it, and I think that that will still keep working for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, when we go back home or we go back and spend time with people who knew us before, it's
All
not
right.
always comfortable. It's not always easy to fit back in those old boxes because we've grown outside those boxes. We are now gallon-sized containers and they are pints. And you know, we can go back and spend a little bit of time together. We can share a little bit with each other, but after a while, they're overflowing and we're not.
and
So it's
and
not
it
going to work out too well.
and there's nothing wrong with that, FYI. Like there's nothing wrong with, being who you were and not changing. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like being like with the example you said, a pint.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's just that if you don't want to be like that anymore, then that's where
right.
the issue comes in. But there's nothing wrong with you doing that, but
Sure.
you don't have to stay, and you can't blame them for wanting to stay there either. It's their choice, their life, their choice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think you're right on as far as who we surround ourselves by. They say that the 5 people you surround yourself with, are they have a big influence on you. And so
Mm,
if you want to make a change, then you need to make a change to some of those 5 people and
yeah.
figure out which ones are gonna be on the new team and which ones are maybe not gonna be on the new team.
I'm listening these days to an audiobook because I do the same thing due to working full time and doing everything else aside my full time job. Jim Rohn's book of 7 steps, I think, 7 steps to wealth and happiness. And like everybody else, you will see after listening to audiobooks and everything from different eras and different ages in life and different times in the past, they
Yeah,
all say pretty much the same things, but in different wording. And so he says the exact same thing. Firstly, that the wealthiest people and the most successful people, they're big readers. They're big readers.
yeah,
They read a lot. They read a lot. And the other thing he was saying, which I forget right now what it is. Oh, you just mentioned before, that he was told as a 25-year-old kid, um, in order for if you want something to change, you gotta change. You gotta change. That he was told that, and yeah, hello, yeah, for things to change, you have to change. But really think what that means, because we hear it, but we don't really understand it, because we have to change our behaviors. We have to change what we do consistently every day, because that will bring out the change afterwards. And that is so difficult to do. How do you change? How do you try to apply change in your life?
it's difficult to be able to do that because it's like, okay, heal yourself, follow your own advice, that type of thing, right? So I started this and it was I keep track of 90-day goals. And I
Mm.
said, okay, I want to lose 45 pounds in 90 days. Those are nice numbers. Let's do it. So I've done it before. I'll do it again. So I started off but last time I was running and not walking. I've gained so much weight down to just walking now. But I would go walking in the morning before work. And so I just start doing it every day. Every day, just go walking in the morning, wake up earlier, go to sleep with your workout clothes on, just get up, put your shoes on, out the door you go, and don't give yourself a chance to talk yourself out of it. And so that's what I did every day. And in August, I walked 3 times as much as I had before, and each day I could see some progress, maybe not a full pound a day, but some progress on the scale. So I try to keep track of not increasing my appetite or increasing what I was eating, but just try to do that, make that change.
Mm.
And that paid off. And I lost 5 or 6, 7, 8 pounds over time. And so, but then came the schedule, the status quo came roaring back after about a month or 9 weeks of every morning having the time, time to go do that. All of a
Yeah.
sudden the schedule came slamming back in and saying, oh, we will reinsert our control over John's time. So auditors coming to work and, crises at work and the different jobs I'm doing. And all of a sudden I'm up later, I'm getting up later. And there's no time to go for that daily walk anymore. So the power of the status quo is so strong. Even if you think, okay, I'm past the 21-day point, or I'm past like I said, even 5-6 weeks. Nope. The status quo comes back, and you're back to your old habits again. And so you have to
But
keep reestablishing that, keep pulling against that
exactly.
gravity, and pretty soon you'll be above the clouds. But right now, it's so much energy just to get off the ground.
But is it that we don't have the time, or is it because you don't value that anymore? It's not a priority anymore.
Oh, that's a great question. I'll sit with that question for a little bit and to see what's that about.
And I hope that's not a judgment question. I'm saying that because
No, but I think
I
that's
was asking myself the same thing every time, because I was told something that I didn't really agree with, because I was like, I did a course, I did a meeting about a couple of months ago for the possibility for me to follow a kind of an intensive course about how to get more work in the acting world with or without an agent, and so on and so on. So to cut the long story short, with everything that I've got on my plate, it would stress me out so much. If I was going to do the course, I wouldn't do it properly, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the guy kept saying to me over and over again, you will do we always do what is the most important thing for us to do. We always do what is the most important thing for us to do, or around those words. And I was like, no, we don't, I didn't really agree with it. No, we don't do what is most important for us. No, we don't. Or the thing we prioritize. And I realized that we do. If we value the Netflix time more, we're going to give priority to the Netflix time rather than an extra hour of sleep. So we actually, you have to be okay with admitting to yourself that watching 20 hours of TV per week is actually more important to you, because if you're giving the time there, that means that that's actually important to you. And it's hard to hear that, because we all know that it's not really important, but we all do it. Or at least that's my personal demon, right? That's one of the things.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's where my question was going. Like,
I think that's a great, and I think one way to break out of that is to plan out your day, plan out your week in advance. And the hard part is to follow it. And so, okay, so if I planned out my week in advance, I'm up every morning at 4:45, so I'm out the door by 5, so I'm back by, at 11 or 6. So I got time to take a shower and go to work. And that should be my morning, or maybe I have to add in I should add in some Grant Cardone training, because I want to do 3 sessions per, like about 30 minutes per morning. So, okay, I got to work that into the schedule. That's why I'm up at 4:45 and I don't have to be at work till 8. So I have time for that. And then stick to it. Okay, well, gosh, if I want to be up at 4:45, that means I've got to be in bed by 8:45. Okay, 8:45, that seems kind of early. So I got to get my work done before 8:45 at night, because I've got to get my 8 hours of sleep. And so start planning all that in, and then live by it.
Get 8 hours of sleep, you just get 7.
Yeah. And then you just live by it, right? So you say, okay, fine. And then just follow it like it was something important to do, and try to get into start establishing those habits. And I'm bringing that up and I'm saying it out loud, because that's going to be my goal for this week, is to do exactly that. And see how I can, because here's the bet. The benefit of following that plan and scheduling something to do every 15 minutes, I bet I get more done in a week than I normally do.
Absolutely.
And that will just help me. So that would be my motivation, to follow that plan.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to keep track of the storms that come along that try to knock me off my course. And so I can get back on course, and then try to keep track of those. Are those storms coming from me? Where are those storms coming from? Is it the day job, the old first stream of income that's rears its ugly head and said, "No, you must work 12 hours a day now for 8 hours of pay." Oh no.
Yep, yep, yep.
So it might be something along those lines, but be interesting to see where the storms come from that try to knock us off our schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that'll be my. That's what I'm gonna try this week. Thanks for that inspiration. That's exactly what I'm gonna try, and that'll be good.
So, on another note, do you want to share a goal that you have by the end of to have ticked by the end of the year, and a goal you've got for the next year?
Okay, so I started off this year with a goal of $100,000 per month.
Wow.
Dollars. That's a lot. That's a 10x goal. That's 10 times what I should be setting a goal as, right?
Yep.
And that I've not come close to that, but I've laid a lot of groundwork and a lot of foundation towards businesses and side jobs and side streams of income that will lead to this.
Okay.
So yeah, so my goal is to be is still attain that, and then continue to work. So you can't get to $100,000 unless you make $1,000, then make 10, and then make 20 and 50, and go on up that way. And also what I've learned is that you're not going to do it alone. So very few opportunities, for to put your ad out there when you go to bed and you wake up the next morning and the money's rolling in and everything's wonderful. Yeah, that doesn't happen. So you've got to figure out how to do it.
So what's the goal? So what's the goal for this year to achieve now, and one for the next year?
So this year, my goal is to, I'm gonna still have the same goal of $100,000 per month.
Okay.
Because I'm not bringing that down, but I will add a goal of to have the LLC set up.
Okay.
And have my side business.
LLC, do you want to share what that is?
It's a limited liability company in the US. That's one thing we do when we form a corporation, so that it kind of protects some assets.
Sure.
And so yeah, by then I will be, by the end of the year, I should have my real estate sales license for the state of Connecticut. I should have completed my some coaching programs and some training programs from Entre, and we can talk about entrepreneurial training on maybe another call. And yeah, so I should, by the end of the year, I should be well set up to start earning income.
Good.
And
new year and next year?
Next year, my goal will be to turn off stream number 1.
Okay.
Because stream number 1 costs me 12 hours a day. So if I can get stream 2 and 3 and 4 going, then they just need more time. Then I can give them more time from that. That'll be my goal next year, is to turn off stream number 1.
And just to close up, what is the one thing you would like, that is the most important thing for you, that you would hope everybody to follow or to listen to? What is if you have to isolate one thing, that it's the thing, that the line that changed your life, or the thing that you, every time you're in doubt, you're listening to this thing to just reground yourself, refocus yourself. What is one thing you want to share?
Okay.
One thing.
So, right. So this is from the question, what would you do if you weren't afraid? A lot of times we don't even know we're afraid, but what would you do if you knew you could succeed? What would you do if you were not afraid of the failure? And then imagine that, and then plan it out and do it. So that's the takeaway. What would I do if I was not afraid? And there's a lot of things that paralyze me with fear. What would I do if I was not afraid? I'd be a wild man. But I might achieve my goals a lot faster too if I wasn't so inhibited by fear.
Yeah, so, but isn't that
that's
what
a great
they're
one.
saying? Yeah, it is. But isn't that what they're saying, that courage is not the absence of fear, but courage is doing the thing you need to do even if you're afraid?
Right. Do it anyway. And Grant talks about going towards fear. When you
I
identify
understand.
that you're afraid of getting on stages, get on stages. If you're afraid of jumping out of an airplane, jump on an airplane.
Yeah.
You know, face those fears, and it really takes all the energy out of them
And that's
and that
where
type of thing.
Mel Robbins came up with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go rule. That's
Okay.
for the exact same reason, to get out
Yeah.
fear.
Okay.
It's like,
That's great.
you're afraid, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Do it anyway. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Go anyway. Thank you, John. Thank you. That was a really, really nice chat. I really, really enjoyed listening to you, as always.
Oh, that's very nice.
We learned we
Hope I
have our
didn't talk
birthdays
too
the
much.
same day.
Yeah. I owe you a birthday card.
Me too. Me too, actually. Me too. Oh my God. And I'm looking forward. I'm gonna wish you happy half birthday on February 5th, by the way.
Yes, yeah, we'll celebrate our half birthdays then. That would be great.
Half birthdays on February. Oh my God, this is amazing. Well,
Yeah,
thank you again. And
my pleasure.
we'll chat later probably on our catch-up call. And
Yeah,
yeah, my pleasure.
maybe I can come back on a future podcast and share some Grant Cardone or some personal development or something like that. Congratulations on starting your podcast, and I look
Oh,
forward to
thank you.
listening to all of the fantastic episodes after this one.
You don't count yours is a fantastic one.
Maybe they'll get better and better when I come back. I'll
Of
have more
course.
jokes.
Look, we're both new at this, so it's. I mean, we're all gonna learn, and we're gonna listen back and listen and learn how to do this better. But that's part of the thing.
Yeah,
This is why I don't want to edit it. I don't want to
sure. Me
sugarcoat
too.
it. I don't want to cut and paste it, because I wanted to make it more real, and I want to make it an organic like chat and relationship, rather than something that you prefix and pre-say what you're gonna say, which then you've got nothing to learn from, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I've learned a lot just from discussing it with you and
Well,
taking on a new challenge for this following week. I'm excited.
absolutely. Likewise.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
I sure will.
Have 5 hours more than I do.
Yeah.
Have an amazing evening, and I'll
Thank you.
see you later. And thank you,
Okay.
everybody, for listening.
And thanks for the great opportunity. We'll see you all later.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.